Well, good morning. I suspect some people will be joining us as we go, but for those who join promptly, we want to get started. You are here for the very first Woburn Parent Network program. And so thank you for joining us. And we will be we will be presenting more of these. This is our very first one, so please, expect we might have a few technical bumps as we figure things out, or maybe not. But let's manage expectations a little here. I am really excited to introduce our speaker, Jennifer Mahon, who has, you can see her title, she has a master's in education and is a longtime educator and also a parent, and she'll tell you more, of course, about that. She's also on the board of Social Capital Inc. And so we are excited that she's our kickoff speaker. And so I'm going to turn to Jen. And as I do, I am just going to get her presentation teed up and ready to go. So feel free, Jennifer, to start introducing yourself in a little more and your topic as I get your slides ready.
All right, sounds great. Good morning, everybody. I'm so grateful that all of you have taken time out of your busy mornings, your unusual routines, your different schedules to spend some time with us today. Like I've been saying to David and my other directors on SEI, like this is simple stuff that I'm going to share with you today, but the things that I'm going to share with you are things that can be done very quickly and easily within your home and with your families. I think they're appropriate for kids ages 2 to 100. I do have somebody who lives in my house who's in his 40s, and these little routines and tips and tricks have helped him as well. Just a little bit of background, as David said, I'm a longtime educator. I left the public schools after about 20 years and started working independently from my home. And I did that about 3 years ago. So I am comfortable with this new working at home piece, although I've added in the extra layer of having 4 children and the dog and my husband kind of bopping in and out during the day. So that led to revisiting what we call in our house expectations. So what I've done is I'm going to share some different slides with you, but before I get started, I was thinking about this morning, and when I started working from home, one of the things I needed to do with and for my kids and for my husband was give them a signal that I'm doing something work related and I cannot be interrupted. So what I've decided is when I used to teach 100 years ago, if I was working with kids, I would wear a headband. And if the headband was on, my students couldn't interrupt me. So I have a headband that I now use at home. And I've been using this for years. So if I'm on the phone or I'm doing something that's work related and I really cannot be interrupted, I put on my headband, and inevitably somebody comes in, mom, 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 and I can shake my head emphatically, and they know, okay, we have to back away. So I'm not going to do the meeting with my headband on, but this is just a little tip. We're working from home now. Our dining rooms have become our offices, our kitchens, our bedrooms. Just maybe you have a dedicated office space. But if you have a space that's kind of open to the family and everybody can kind of access you while you're trying to do work, set up a designated little area. You can put some painter's tape on the floor. And when you are in that box, your family knows, please don't bother me. I have to get this done. I can't be interrupted. Or get a headband. My headband was just left over from a Halloween costume a number of years ago. But set up some signal so the people who are in the house with you know, okay, this is not a time for me to interrupt. I have to try and resolve this need on my own. In my house, it's usually something very simple. I'm hungry. So most of our snacks are at kid level so they can help themselves. So with that being said, identify that signal, and you're going to have to teach the people who are home with you, your kids, your husbands, other relatives that may be with you. So my advice is always, if you're starting something new with your family, start on a Sunday or a Monday. Fresh start to the week. Everybody's kind of gung-ho and ready to embrace something new. And so I would say, if you're going to introduce something, start it on Sunday. So you might want to say to everybody Sunday night at dinner, hey, we're going to try this. Here's my signal that I absolutely can't be disturbed. So that's just a very brief kind of quick tip. But what I was going to talk a little bit more about today is that, we have everybody home with us right now. We're so used to the routine of school and work and getting out the door and leaving at certain times and, who has to be where and when. And I'm going to share a little personal story. I guess about 4 years ago, one of my children has ADHD and really struggles with some of that organization piece and executive functioning piece of just kind of managing day-to-day stuff. So we had to have a family meeting, and we decided we have to put some things in place to help my one child, but in the end, it helped everybody. So we've been doing expectations probably since about 2016. And again, they are simple. They've evolved over time. And because we've been doing them for so long, some of the routines that we've put in place have just now become daily practice. And I don't have to have something as extensive as what you see for what we did in the spring of 2018. So again, it's very simple stuff, but it's setting that structure and that routine in the day for both you and your families, and giving everybody those parameters of, okay, this is the time that we're going to do these things, but this is what you're expecting of me when I do certain things. So this is a great time in our history to change behaviors. Research says it takes about 18 to 20 days to change a behavior. And by my count, if the children return to school May 5th, we have 19 days to make some changes. I think if you make the changes now to your routines and your expectations, there are things that we're going to talk about that can carry over through the rest of the school year into summer, and then hopefully for your families like it has for mine going forward. So just looking at what I did for when we were in the springtime. So I have 4 kids, and every single one of them play sports. We do have a rule in our house, 1 sport per person per season, because sometimes I'm by myself. My husband works a shift. So if he's not here, I'm the chef, the taxi driver, the homework helper, the mom, the organizer. So when we came upon the spring of 2018, I knew things were going to be really busy. I had 3 soccer players, and a baseball player, and everybody seemed to have practice very close together and very close in times, but at different parts of town. So we had to put some expectations in because I couldn't manage all 4 people and their stuff and getting where we needed to go. So what we did is we just broke it down into very specific after school. When you get home from school, you have certain things that you're responsible for as people who live in this house. Hang up your backpack, take out your lunchbox, make yourself a healthy snack, get your homework done, check and see if you have practice or a game and get your equipment and things. And then I had said, if you've done those things and you have time, play outside and play with your friends. So that was the first kind of foray into 2018. What we realized quickly as a family is that the kids couldn't remember what they had on certain days, especially my younger ones. So that led to, we evolved over time, and I said, okay, I'll write out a schedule for you each week. So what I do now, and I've been doing this for a number of years now, I'm an early riser. So Sunday mornings when I'm up early, I write out an individual schedule for each kid. There's probably an easier way to do it using technology, but technology is not a huge strength, and my 9-year-old doesn't check email as often as we do. So I write out a schedule every week, Monday through Sunday, and I write down what time practice is and where. And then I put it right above the kids' hooks where they hang their backpacks. So that's kind of how we solved that after school problem, because they were coming home and somebody would say, what do I have today? Do I have soccer? So now it's all posted right above their hooks, and they can see it every day when they come home from school. And as our routines have evolved, each child now has a different system for managing what's been done. My youngest daughter, she likes to cross it off. Okay, Monday's done, she crosses it off the list. My other daughter, she just puts a check. My boys, they just keep going and follow along on their routine when they get home. They check, oh, it's Monday, check, got this. So that was something that evolved as we did kind of our after school routine. And then I got to thinking, all right, guys, you come home from practice and you're coming in the house at different times and everybody's hungry and I know it's hard. I don't know if some of you folks out there, 6:30, between 6 and 7 in my house can get a little dicey. People are hot, they're tired, they're hungry, they've had a long day. So I've said we needed to put some expectations in place about how are we going to manage this piece while I'm trying to get dinner and things ready for you, or you're coming in and joining us at the table. So you know what? We broke it down to after practice or a game, make sure all of your stuff is away, put it where it belongs, because as my mom always said, if you put things back where you want them, you'll always know where to find them. And we're working on that still in our house. There's still always missing shoes and missing cleats, and I can't find my glove, but it's a work in progress. And then what we would do is, okay, wash your hands and get ready for dinner. Another little tip that I do in regards to meal preparations is I don't plan out breakfast or lunch. That would really make me a little crazy. But on the Sunday mornings when I'm writing out the kids' schedule, once I'm done looking at who has what and when and where, I plan out our menus. I just write down Monday through Friday, and I put down a main dish next to each day. So, Monday might be chicken cutlets, Tuesday, tacos. Wednesday, I treat myself, and we always have takeout, whether we do pizza from a local restaurant or I make pizza, but typically Wednesday's my treat day of we're going to order out. And then that way I know ahead of time what I'm making for dinner. I check it first thing in the morning so I can pull stuff out of the freezer. Although an Instapot has definitely saved our family in many ways. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about the chicken. You can throw it in. But that's helped everybody stay organized. So again, I'm doing things on the back end to help my family be successful and meet their expectations. So again, back to in the spring, they would come in from practice and dinner was ready and we would serve it up and we would eat. And I have a big family. So for me, it's much easier to kind of feed everybody all at once. But in so many different families, it's easier to eat as people are coming in and take your food and do what you need to do. But as my expectations have evolved over the years, the kids know to come in and eat dinner, and dinner would be there for them. Now, because we've changed and we've grown and we've been doing this for so long, they know to get their own plates now and serve their own food. And again, they're older, but like I said, you can do this with younger kids and they can be a part of this routine as well. And the earlier you start, the more ingrained it becomes, and then you build on it over time. So, like I said, we've been doing this for a long time in my house. So the kids know, and my husband knows, and I know, like the expectation is once you're done with dinner, clear your dishes. And that sounds simple, but there's also a lot of times where they just run out of the room and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. They're like, oh, we're back. So those are just some really simple things. For moms and dads and guardians and people out there who have smaller kids or even bigger kids who give you some difficulty, we were struggling with bedtime. And I was like, okay, here's what we need to do. This is what I expect. And we talk through it all the time. Remember, you have to go upstairs and put on your pajamas and brush your teeth. And some of these things are so simple and we take it for granted. But for my one son who has trouble attending to things, he needed those reminders of, oh yeah, I got to brush my teeth. Like he can get distracted putting his pajamas on and then see something else that's interesting and forgets about brushing his teeth. So he actually has expectations in his room so he can double check in the morning or at night before he goes to bed to make sure he's got his stuff taken care of. So what you see on your screen is what we've done over the spring. And one thing I'm gonna flip. David, I don't know if you can flip. It's gonna just be a continuation, so people can see. I think that the next slide is So the next slide, it's the same thing that we just saw. But we were struggling with bedtimes and what time do I go to bed? What time do I need to stay up later. So bedtimes are determined in our house by, your age plus a little bit. And obviously sometimes they're flexible and we kind of use this Monday through Friday. But like I said, our family's busy. So those times seem to work. But David, if you could move to the next slide. Okay, so here's an example of what we've done over the summer. So this was last summer. Again, super simple things, but they were posted. So I didn't have to keep reminding everybody, check what's written down. Have you eaten breakfast? Have you gotten dressed? Brushing your teeth, hair, making your bed. reading for 40 minutes. Sometimes we fudge and we do 30 minutes. But again, it was these different things that I had to put in place so we stayed structured. They have to put on their sunscreen. And then I have found that once I send everybody outside and they are enjoying the fresh air, I typically don't see them again until they're hungry. But again, this is things that you can alter and change to meet your family's needs. We do have a family chore chart. Typically, we only do it during the summertime because the kids are so busy during the school year that, you know, I do ask them to help me out on occasion, but during the summer, they have very specific chores that they have to do. And then one thing that my kids actually wanted to add was giving a compliment to a family member. Just trying to remind each other, like, okay, we're all in this tight space. We're all together all summer long or all coronavirus long. Try and say something nice to, you know, a member of your family. And we had a really long conversation about, it can't just be, I really like your shirt, or the color of your hair is nice. So, you know, we had to refine our compliments and dig deep to things of, you know, I was really grateful when you invited me to play basketball with you and you complimented my shot, things like that. So again, these things can all be altered to meet your individual family needs. David, would you mind flipping to the next? Thanks. Oh, this is again the summer. I don't know if anybody else out there struggles with this, but gosh, those screens are so enticing. The kids are drawn to them. It could be 80 degrees outside and sunny and beautiful in the summer, and though the Xbox is calling their name. So we had to put something in place. And, you know, the kids have learned that once they get outside in the summer, and even now, they don't come back in until they're hungry. And so our screen time has been limited, but it's one of those things I think every single person battles with their kids. Like, what's the balance and how do we maintain it? And how do you ask your children to come away from their videos and things like that? So we set up times, you know, after you've done certain things, then you can have 2 hours of screen time. And we work on an honor system. I try to keep track as best I can, but there's 4 of them and they do sneak by on occasion and get extra. But, you know, we talk to them like, it's take your time, and you can do 2 hours at once, or you can spread it out over the course of the day. So again, it's just little tips and tricks. And I'll be honest with all of you, the 2 hours per child per day is something that I have had to relax in these circumstances with the kids being home, you know, all day and missing out on some of their different experiences and regularly scheduled things. And it was hard for me to adjust my thinking, but we needed that because the videos and the Xbox and the iPads and the iPhones and those different media outlets and screens do give them a little sense of, you know, disconnecting and doing something that's feels normal in these times. So David, I don't know if you can flip to the next one. Okay. So again, another example of what we've done. So we were 2 weeks into quarantining and we were having a family dinner, because I'm sure, like a lot of you out there, you're doing an awful lot of cooking and then cleaning and cooking again and cleaning again. But we were having dinner and I said, okay, guys, we have to get a handle on this situation. You're going to be expected to do schoolwork. And this was right before the Woburn Public Schools started with the choice boards, which really actually helped streamline some of our, as we called them, the coronavirus expectations. You know, we were kind of flying by the seat of our pants prior to that and staying busy-ish and doing things that felt school-esque. So the choice boards really helped with that, and it helped kind of devise our coronavirus expectations. As you can see, I had put on this one that it's subject to change by parent choice. Things come up. And I said to the kids, this is where you're going to learn flexibility. So today is one of those examples. Usually the kids start their schoolwork between 9:15 and 9:45. But I knew everybody was going to be joining us today. So my husband happens to have the day off. I said, you got to get everybody out of the house. I said, get the dog out, take the kids out. And they're out taking a nice walk and throwing the ball around. So they're getting their fresh air. So we had to be flexible. So there is flexibility built into these. But as you can see, I mean, we had to set a routine, and the kids, as well as me, like we depend on this. Like I know, okay, like 8 a.m. you got to get up. Like we can't sleep until 10, 11, 12. That makes it complex, especially for all of us working from home. Your day starts, most of you 8, 8:30, 9 a.m. I'm sure you've had to adjust. But by making sure that the kids are up and ready to go, that's kind of taken the pressure off of you. So they have about an hour to get themselves out of bed, breakfast, dressed, making your bed, brushing your teeth. I have a 9 o'clock deadline here on the sheet, but again, there's flexibility just based on what I have to do during the day or what they have to do. And then, then they get started with their schoolwork by 9:15. And if they're done by 12, terrific. If they're done a little bit earlier, that's fine too. We do, again, because my family's so large, it's easier for me to have everybody eat at the same time so that I'm only preparing, 5 separate meals once, except for dinner, we all eat the same thing. But we eat lunch, and then once we're done with that, like the day is theirs. So it feels very structured to them from 9 to 12:30. They know what's expected, that they have to do their schoolwork. And for me, working from home, that's my time that I know, okay, I can't procrastinate. I have stuff I need to get done. Let me work while they're working. And I stay close by everybody in case I have to offer support for some of the different learning activities. But then the kids wanted to take it one step further. And as we all say, I love seeing different faces on my screen. It's nice to see people that I'm not related to. But the kids were really feeling strongly that they were missing their friends. And so we put this in as just a reminder, like make sure you check in with a friend. And however they do that is fine with me. And again, this is where I had to relax that whole feeling about the screens and taking it. So I'm okay with the video chats. My 9-year-old can get on the computer and talk with her girlfriends for 45 minutes. I don't know what they're talking about for that long, but they're busy and they're seeing each other. So that was something that my kids added in. And then something that I had to put in is that we take a family walk every day around 3. And for any of you who live near Woburn Center, you probably see us all marching around, or a big group with a little brown and white dog. But that was for me. That was me building in something that I knew I was going to be up and moving. The kids were definitely going to be up and moving. And quite honestly, 3 o'clock is a really hard time, because in our normal lives, that's when people were coming home from school and we were starting to dive into the homework routine and getting snacks and getting ready for sporting events. So I felt a loss at that 3 o'clock hour. I was like, okay, we need to do something to keep the time. So we usually, we go for a little bit, then we come home. And for me personally, it makes the afternoon and evening much easier. And even though there's resistance, the kids typically, and even my husband, and even the dog, I don't know if is enjoying them that much anymore. But even once we get going, everybody seems happy. And it's just another time for us to connect and get that fresh air. So we were trying to count last night, after 31 days, how many family walks have we taken? And we think we've missed 4 days, but we're not sure. We have done them in the rain, much to everybody's dismay. But again, that felt good for all of us, but specifically for me, because I knew 3 to 4:30 is a hard time. David, would you mind flipping to the next slide, please? Now, this is just another little reminder for everybody. It's on the bottom of their sheets that's hanging on their hooks, that, if your schoolwork is done, please go outside, and television watching and all that should be an evening activity, unless it's bad weather. Monday's a perfect example. Monday was gross and cold and nasty, and they got their schoolwork done, and then that was that. They had at it, and they circled through the day. People were popping out of their various rooms and doing different things, and we played games and stuff. But I relaxed the screen time because I had to, because it was going to make it better for everybody living in our house right now. So if you could flip to the last slide. I think this is just our example of our chore chart. Again, so these are developed I talked to the kids. I have, my oldest is almost 15, and I have twins that are going to be 12, and my youngest is 9. So when we do our chore chart, we have to be age specific, but This is basic. There's a summer one that I have in a file that everybody can have access to if you want to use this in your own home, that has chores that are a little more meatier. But again, you have to devise it for what works for your family. So Bridget, who's my youngest, she can absolutely empty the dishwasher. She can't put things up high, so she stacks it, and I help out. But our coronavirus version is different, is that rather than everybody having a chore 5 days a week, everybody has a day off during the week. So Joseph was super excited because he always has a 3-day weekend, and Eli was excited because he always has a 3-day weekend, which prompted my girls to say, can we change this in 2 weeks so we can have 3-day weekends in regards to chores? So we set that up, and you know what? They checked their chore charts. Today's Wednesday, so everybody has the same chore. They have to clean up their room and clean up after the dog. So they work together on that one. And then as the week goes on, different people have different things. I typically just give a reminder like, hey, what's your job today? Some of them are more motivated than others. And honestly, they don't get paid for these chores. These are just things that you do when you live in a house with people, and you're expected to help out as part of the family. We do have paid positions within our house, but again, it's very specific as to what the task is. But for these general ones that we have up, it's just, this is part of what's expected of you as a member of our family and somebody who lives in this house. So that's a little bit about what we do. Again, we try to keep it simple, but as I said earlier, we are in a difficult time, but it's a great time to change habits, develop new ones, and get started. So if anything I've shared with you is of use, we can certainly, I think, put it in some type of Google folder, so then you don't have to recreate charts and stuff, and you would be able to manipulate things on your own. And just as David said, we're going to be translating the documents into both Spanish and Portuguese. I did do a Spanish version yesterday, and my 9th grade Spanish 3 student was kind enough to share with me that my translations were not the best, and I use Google Translate. So he fixed some errors. So if you ever see anything that they're going to go through a vetting process, but if something doesn't look appropriate, please let us know. But in the end, we do this. We've been doing it for years. It's helped the kids. It's helped our family. I think it's given everybody that structure that they need right now in this difficult time. So if anybody has any questions or thoughts, I'm happy to take them. But again, this is just designed to be a resource for you. Use what you can, use what you don't need. Don't use it if you don't need it, but I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Great, thanks, Jen. There is, if people, reminder that the way this works is you are by default are muted, but if you want to chime in with a question, does anybody have, maybe I'll get the ball rolling, and you can either raise your hand or say in chat if you have a question, and I can make sure you're unmuted. And my first question, Jen, I'm sure your children are almost perfect and do these things according to the chart most of the time, but you want to say a word about what happens when they veer from the expectations?
Sure. So I appreciate that the compliment that they may be close to perfect. They are not, and we do struggle, just like everybody. But the nice part about the expectations is, rather than engaging in that power struggle with the kids, I can say, hey, guys, we've all agreed to this. This is what's expected behavior from you. Does it always run smoothly? No. Do we ever end up with people needing to be, go take a break somewhere, go up to your room, take 5? We use the bottom step in our house as a timeout space, if you will, only because there's a bottom step everywhere in the world. If you ever needed one, that worked when they were really little. But you know what we do? We struggle, and we have to just hit reset and say, okay, look, this is what we agreed upon. And as part of making things go smoothly and feel good for you, for me, for dad, for your sisters, your brothers, we have to try our hardest. Again, you have to pick and choose that. There's some days where I have to say, you know what, this is a day off for everybody. And that's what we have to do. But because this routine has been in place for so long, they're used to it. So there is comfort in knowing, okay, even though I'm pushing back on her, the expectation's still going to be there tomorrow.
Yep.
That helps.
Great.
Far from perfect over here.
Does anyone online either have questions are great, but also if people have, your own either routines that you do in general or things that, have evolved in this crazy period of time. Adriana?
Yeah, Jen, how old are your kids again?
So my oldest is going to be 15 next week. I have two 11-year-olds and a 9-year-old.
Oh, wow. I have twins too. They're 12. So I hear you.
You're in seventh. Are you in seventh grade? I'm still in sixth.
Seventh grade. Yeah.
Yeah, seventh grade's hard.
I feel like you're much more generous than I am. If I look at my schedule, I'm a little more strict. And one thing that I have decided since they were little, like picking up and cleaning their room is not a chore, is an obligation. So what I separated, the list of things they have to do has a list of chores, which is when they're doing something for the rest of the family or for the house. And then their obligations are the things that they need to do, because I'm not going to pick up stuff from your bedroom. And what has been helpful too, when they pick their chores, one time I wrote them all in little strips of paper. I have 3 kids. So Sophia's 19, the boys are 12, and they all fought over which chores they wanted. So they have like ownership, and everybody has a horrible chore that they have to deal with. And it still doesn't work, even though I have all the structure. It's still a lot of times you have to fight with them and take the screens off. I have Comcast, and there's an amazing thing that if you guys don't know about, you can go and pause every single one of the devices that are connected to the internet. And I use that power a lot. It's very self-satisfying.
I love that. No, I agree with you. I mean, everybody has to put their different spin on it, because your family best.
Yeah.
Again, with what I was sharing with everybody too, and like what you're doing at home, Adriana, is it has to work for you and your family, or else it's not sustainable. And you also have to make sure that people are buying into it, because if not, you're spinning your wheels. So right. I think, I like the idea too of pulling chores out of a hat. Like you, I try to give up. That's why the pick up the dog, everybody has it. Pick up after the dog, everybody has it on Wednesday, so they can walk around the yard together, commiserating that this job stinks, literally.
I know.
Mm-hmm. One question I have, and I'm curious if anybody wants to chime in with this, how are people making a distinction this time? Are you treating your weekdays and weekends? Are you able to differentiate? I know sometimes it's hard to know in this period what day it is. It feels like trying to do that has some way of trying to hold on to a little bit of normalcy, I guess, so that's not all just every day the same. I don't know if either Jen or anyone on the call has thoughts on how they're approaching the days, these coronavirus days.
Yeah, we're definitely treating the weekdays different than the weekend. So, there are some schoolwork expectations during the week. Piano practice is a little longer during the week than on the weekends. It's a little bit shorter. And I am letting my kids pretty much sleep in as late as they want. Every day, they're not big late sleepers like a lot of teenagers, so they're usually up by 10, which is late, but right now they can, so I'm letting them, and then I can have the house quiet while I'm getting my work done in the morning and not have any distractions, and they can feed themselves when they get up. My kids are 12 and 17, so they're pretty self-sufficient, but we're definitely having more screen time on the weekends than we are during the week, even though we're having more during the week than we were before we were home all the time. But I definitely like differentiating the weekdays from the weekend. It feels normal.
Other folks on the call, I'm curious, anybody else want to share? If you have a question, that's great, but if anything that you're finding that's helping your family with routines, or just in general helping navigate this time, I'd love to hear some more ideas and voices. No. I was trying to tell if there's anyone else. if you're trying to talk and you're not coming through, you can type a note into the chat. Again, as we said, we're kind of figuring out this technology.
I'm touching nothing, just so we're clear.
Okay. Kath?
So I have two kids with ADHD, and one of the things that we had done prior to lockdown for the coronavirus is we have a sticky whiteboard that goes on the cellar door, and it has a weekly schedule. And so we've just kind of updated that weekly schedule with, you know, the meetings that we have in Google Hangouts with Google Class. We've done, you know, like today you need to take out the trash. Today you need to do this, that, and the other. So it's gotten a lot busier since coronavirus days, but that's one of the things that we've done. And then I also have printed up, similar to what Jennifer was suggesting, checklists on a daily basis. So in the morning, make sure you check in Google Classroom, and then make sure you do something else in Google Classroom in the afternoon, that sort of thing. So those have been helpful, but we're sort of modifying as we go, and it's not ideal because my mornings are very busy with meetings, and so for work. So that makes it a little bit challenging to try to, you know, make sure that everybody gets online and in their Google Classroom meeting, their Hangouts meeting on time and without much ado. So that's still a work in progress. My older daughter missed her science class this morning as a result. So it's all good, and everybody seems to be pretty understanding. So at least that helps a little bit. So that's a couple of the things that we've done here. So we have a single, similar to Jennifer, instead of, you know, the individual, but I only have two kids. Instead of the individual checklist, we have one big one on the cellar door. So.
Yeah.
Great.
That's terrific.
Great. Any other ideas or suggestions? Anyone else trying to get in? All right. I do see, I don't know if people have looked in the chat, school committee member Michael Mulrennan posted, oh, I see, he just sent this to me, but he was on for a little bit and just had to head out for a shift at the fire department, but he just wishes everybody well on behalf of the school committee, and appreciates people taking the time for this. Great. Any other comments or questions? Cool. So if there are none, I know, thinking of what Jennifer was saying, probably a number of us might start having people starting to get hungry for lunch soon, so we don't have to keep this much longer. So I will just say thank you on behalf of everybody who put this together. Thank you for taking the time to check this out. And as I said, next week we have that program on mental health during this time, mental health and wellness during this period of time. And so I encourage you to join that. If you want to just say in the chat room whether or not you can make a 6 o'clock time, because that is the time we tentatively have the presenter. And I will also put a little poll about that on Facebook, but I'm not sure if everybody's on there. So feedback on that would be great. Jennifer, do you have any parting thoughts for us before we sign off?
No, I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy mornings. I know it's hard to find the time to do this, and if there's anything that I can do to be helpful, feel free to reach out. I think my email will be somewhere, and you can get me, but I work with a lot of different families, so I'm happy to help. And I hope everybody stays healthy and safe and get those routines going and enjoy the time home with your family. It's a little bit of a gift right now. And I think we need to embrace it. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer. And all right, well, take care, everyone. And you can I'll leave this open for, you can sign off, but I'll leave this on for a few minutes if people want to write any feedback on the time or any other comments. You can put that in the chat. Great, thanks, everyone.